as Black Wall Street History Month. And if you want more information, you can go to the website, blackwallstreet.org, Black Wall Street History Month, and read the news release and share it. Share it on your social media, share it, text it to people, just share it. And this today, we are honoring Mabel Little, one of our Black Wall Street pioneers. Today is Mabel Little Day. So go on the website and read about her and her extraordinary life and contribution to what we know as Greenwood, Tulsa. All right. There's so many other. I want to announce as well that we have a new platform called MemTrack. Go check it out. It's blackwallstreet.org/access, and you can join and have your own login portal now with Black Wall Street. Keep up with what's going on, and it's tailored towards what you do and your commitment to the movement. And you log in, you get all the latest events, the lectures here, tutorials. It's a platform where you can collaborate with others. It really is an amazing platform. So for more information, you do have to sign up and become a subscriber. And this is offered not by Black Wall Street USA, but blackwallstreet.org. So go to blackwallstreet.org/access, and you will see everything you need. All right. As I shared with Brother Dailey, so many people have called because he piqued people's interest in April regarding e-commerce. So I want to decrease, bring my young brother on, Brother Nathan A. Dailey, Washington, D.C., Virginia. Brother Dailey, it's in your hands. God bless you, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. I appreciate it. And just hello again, Black Wall Street family. Thank you all for your prayers and considerations. It's been a fun May, I call it. It started off as a little May Day, and but we've got it back on track. Just to give everybody a little update as what's going on over here in the DMV. There's over 1,000 businesses that are contracted with the federal government. If you don't know, a lot of the black wealth and middle class kind of rests on the shoulders over here on a lot of the federal government contracting. Whether that contracting may be as small business owners, whether we are some of the vendors, whether we are the suppliers, whether we are some of the hands that help to support a lot of functions of the federal government and some of the contracts that are attached to it. And so, just keep all of your folks here in the DMV in your prayers, because a lot of those businesses have found themselves consistently losing contracts and also being disproportionately impacted, especially black women, by some of the conversations and some of the policies that are going out of the administration. And while we seen this come in about 60 or maybe 90 days ago in the first 100 days of Trump's return to office, one of the things that is very clear is that we're starting to see the actual turnover and impact in our own livelihoods. And if you have been checking the markets, if you've been checking some of the prices of your groceries, I understand they say it's all getting better, but I just can't see the number going down. The number is either going up or in some cases it is it's just the product is non-existent. So I'm asking everybody to stay vigilant, stay focused, keep those over here on the East Coast in your prayers. And before I go further, I think because this is a month of May and this is a time of memorial for some of the success that our people have kind of displayed over the years, I want to just kind of talk just real briefly about the impact that some of the slaves made during the early 1800s to a lot of the cotton and sugar plantations that kind of existed and erupted the slavery of the South that America kind of propped itself up on. Some of the conversations that I've had with a lot of the leaders around the nation right now has been exactly how do we get ahead of it in respect to making sure that we are staying in connection with what's happening closer to the Washington, D.C. or the DMV area, because things move fast out here. And when you look at some of the slaves and some of the slave trade that came out of the Chesapeake, some of those that came out of Richmond and kind of was driven out of Virginia, which is a lot came out of Virginia, some of the tobacco fields, so that our ancestors would be sort of imported down there to the New Orleans and Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama plantations. We were looked at during that time period as a hand, as a strong hand for whatever overseer, slave driver, or owner had their hands in this economic model of this type of forced migration. And one of the things that is apparent in that I saw during that period of between 1814, 1820, all the way up until this point where we're now looking in the 2020 margin, almost 200 years later, is the reality that we are now in control of our own business. And yet there is, again, this conversation of forced migration that is happening in the name of not just inmates this time, but immigrants. And I think it's important for us to understand that the concept of what we're seeing right now does have a very special place to us because we know what it's like to be kidnapped. And I appreciate Dr. Carter. He called me earlier today, and he really and a great leader because we get to share some of the inspiration and some of the reminders of what it's like to be growing up in a society where things seemingly look different, but what really are operating under the same principles, the same spirit, some of the same ideology that left a mark and a stain on our country, years ago, and it still have not been rectified or reconciled. And so the part of this conversation, and it's going to go into e-commerce because I know everyone's excited about seeing some of the conversation, but it is important to understand that what we are witnessing right now is exactly what our ancestors witnessed then, in that they were trying to understand how could we, as a larger society, ignore the fact that we were human beings and weren't just property. And we're going back to this conversation, and I think before Trump got elected, we talked about that 1619 project. We went over that 2025 project. We went over some of these ideologies and some of these thinkings that kind of spurred us. But now we're at a moment in a real time where we have to say, what do we do as a people? And the conversation of what our ancestors did needs to be put into that forefront, because it's not that we're not working together. Because, again, those of y'all who know me know that I'll tell you quick, fast, in a hurry, we, as an African-American people, we work together, but we don't always show that we're working together. And so now it's one of those times where I believe that we have to come to that conversation of how do we work together and what does it look like, and making sure that we communicate that along all fronts. And I think when we look at how black people are on the East Coast versus where we are in the South, where we are up north, or where we are on the West Coast, this conversation is being had in all of the hallways. This conversation is being had in our boardrooms. This conversation is being had in our banks. This conversation is being had even on the streets. And believe it or not, this conversation is being had in churches across the nation. Is where do we fit into this society, not just as black people, but as also Christian people, as also as people who understand not just what the spirituality of what our ancestors bring to the table, but the practicality of what we are able to survive and go through. And so that means that we're looking at 100 days ahead. And I wanted to share that with you because while I may not always be here, I know that there's wisdom still cultivating, and I want to say thank you, because this is what it's all about, keeping that conversation and line of communication open so that we can get the information that's necessary. So I wanted to open up with that because it was just important. It was something on my heart, and I'm still working through some of those conversations. I've been to Chicago several times. I'll be on the plane this evening. Tomorrow, heading out to Melbourne, Texas. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing there, and this is why I wanted to introduce the e-commerce, is that we're looking to establish, and I was able to pull some funding so that we can create what's called these independent power producing substations that are on our farms. So we're combining this word called agrivoltaics. And the reason why I'm mentioning this to us now is because, as you can also see over the weekend, these storms are not going away. As you can see, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, you're seeing all through the Midwest, these storms are still coming. We haven't hit hurricane season, and we still haven't got the fire season, and it's important that our people understand how to be resilient without the federal government. So when we get into this conversation of e-commerce, it's important that everyone understands why I'm starting off with this and how I'm transitioning the controlled regeneration model of 2024 into now a real conversation of how do we become resiliency, how do we become resilient, dealing with a crisis, getting to stability, moving to sustainability. Today, we're going to be talking just a little bit further about that sustainable model, which is under the e-commerce platform. But in order for me to do that, I think it is important for us to really start looking at some tools that we have discussed already in terms of how to mitigate crisis. Because until we can get to that place where we understand that one disaster, one situation can disrupt our business, we have to learn how to get back online. And so one of the tasks that I've been doled out is getting to Texas, because if anybody knows about where Melvin, Texas is, it sits at the heart of Texas, couple miles, maybe about 100 or so miles outside of San Antonio, about 100 or so miles outside of Austin. But up there, about an hour and a half away from there, about 60 miles, is a place called Abilene, Texas. Make sure we're writing this down, Abilene, Texas. Abilene, Texas is special only for one reason, is because they just recently decided to invest over $500 billion into a new data center. Okay, now I'm mentioning this data center because there's probably some folks on this call from Memphis, and there's maybe some folks on this call from Alabama, and some folks on this call who have heard about data centers moving into your area, moving into your neighborhood, moving into your line. And the question is, how safe is it? How do I participate in it? How do I engage? But most importantly, how does this involve control regeneration, Nate? What are you saying, and what does Texas have anything to do with this? And it all comes down and rests in this little word I want everybody to make sure they get in their mind, is independent power producer. Now, what is an independent power producer? IPP. What does that name mean? What that name means is essentially the person who is producing energy. If you go back, several months ago, you'll remember that the current administration declared a state of emergency in the energy sector. They declared a state of emergency in the energy sector so that they can control the resources at the national and at the administrative level for energy. This is important what we're talking about because it may go a little deep, but it's going right into e-commerce as to why the tools that I'm going to mention are important for you to use. The thing that about this energy sector that everyone has to understand is that it is a conversation about how we are going to supply energy, not just to our transportation market, not just to our livelihood, but also to these data centers that are eating megawatts of energy, and they're going to continue to consume energy. And you say, well, you want us to understand, how does this have to do with slavery? This is a lot this conversation is going on. I need everyone to understand that the solar farms, the solar power, the energy producers, whether it's coming from fossil fuel, whether it's coming from the sun, or whether it's coming from the hands, the energy, listen, the hands of our ancestors that are picking cotton. The energy has to come from somewhere in order for this nation to grow. And for our people, it is necessary that we understand that it was through innovation that we experienced some of the crises of our time, where I'm talking about this whipping machine, that fueled this cotton industry of pulling together all of this the cotton gin and forcing this mass production of cotton picking, or it is in energy in which we are now consuming energy, or watch this, raising the utility prices for our neighbors in order to feed this machine called a data center. Okay? And if you're in Memphis, you know what's happening there, and there's some folks who have had their feathers ruffled a little bit because there's this conversation of whether or not it's an environmental hazard. And I've been doing studies, which is why I'm sorry, guys, it's been a really difficult time. I've been pulled in so many directions because I'm getting asked to what is this that we are dealing with? How do we understand it? Because most of us never took the time to really sit down and understand what these data machines, what these data centers are really here to produce for our everyday lives. So it is my hope that as we go through this e-commerce conversation, as we start looking at how the money is being flowed and where that funding is going to and why, that it will help for you to shape your business so that your farm, so that your business, that your purpose in creating a profit won't go unmissed. Okay? And I'm saying that carefully because it is now at this point that we have to rely on those in the East and those in the West and those in the North, and we have to communicate as to what's happening. A good example of that will be when Elon Musk decided to put up his data center down in Memphis. It took him literally 120 days, 122 days, I think, at the most. That is a record time, which means that these things are going to pop up so fast, much like happened when we were put into the Coffle chains, and 1 minute you see the land cleared, the next minute you see cotton growing, the next minute there are slaves. You had to have energy. It is an ongoing cycle that everyone has to understand, and what happens within this is that we create, again, another subculture of through innovation of our people. And the way we do that is by understanding what tools that we have at our disposal that coincide, that stay out of the way, but also allow us to take advantage of opportunities that are current for us at this time. Now, before I go on, I always like to touch on money because I think money is one of the major reasons that drives folks to control regeneration, because my goal is to make sure I'm letting people know where that funding is coming from before it gets there. That way you can find yourself set up. Don't look for it while you're setting up. Wait for it. It's almost like saying, hey, I'm going to go make a bucket while it's raining. No, you want to have the bucket ready so that you can catch the rain. Here's where we are right now, and this is one of the reasons why we're talking about e-commerce, and that is because part of the replacement series is going to be that the jobs, whether it be service or whether it be even in the tech industry, is replaced by artificial intelligence, AI. That is what is happening. So the data centers that are crunching this information are working to replace jobs. Okay, it's working to replace people's livelihoods. It's not just here in D.C. that we're seeing this, that we're experiencing it. It is all through the nation. Now, last year, this is really important because last year, I myself was showing and explaining to folks how to use AI in order to write their grants, in order to write their executive summaries. The reason I wanted to make sure that we all understood it is because these data centers are right here in Northern Virginia, and I'm watching how they actually are operating, okay? And so when you start to understand the technology that's behind it and start tapping in, AI will be your best friend. Or it could be that difficult reality that you have to face, again, in terms of reconciling what it is that you want to do and how you want to build and protect your family. With that said, I want to talk to you guys about just 3 different things, and then I'm going to let us go today. But I want to make sure that's a whole lot that I've said here, and I want to break it down just into 3 different things so that people really understand where we are and what is taking this process gradually to move, but the results will be seen suddenly. It's very simple. First, remember that we've been here before. As African Americans, it was our energy, our labor force that provided to this economy energy so that cotton could be one of the #1 industry that built the bedrock of this nation. Once all that changed, we enter into the industrial period, and now we're in the information period, and now we're moving into an artificial intelligence period. The same will remain, that we have to find our place in terms of how we are going to interact, okay? So the first thing is that we've been here before. 200 years ago, we know what was going on. We were prepared. Again, we were prepared. We just did what we needed to do. Second reason I want to say is because when you look ahead, and some people can't see 100 years from now. They can't see 30-20, 30-25. But if you could just see 2030, and you could just simply see how Social Security at 2030 means that those of us who are 60 will be 65 and are retiring, then you'll understand when I say we are headed in a serious financial conversation where there will be people making policy for the haves and have-nots. So those with retirements, those with 401ks, those who are depending on Social Security out here, I wish I could give you some better news, but I can honestly tell you from what I've listened to and a lot of the conservative think tanks here in Washington, D.C., they are going to make cuts, but those cuts are going to be based on pre-existing conditions in the Medicaid space, and they're going to integrate it with the Social Security, and they're going to start reducing it because this is the goal. The goal is so that they can have more and that those, if they need to take it from, they will take it from us. And so I need everyone to understand that starting with e-commerce, when you're setting up your business, especially those who are coming into retirement, will be looking to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. This is for you so that you don't put yourself in a position where you're competing with a 25-year-old for a job that neither one of you guys have ever done before in your entire life. And this is the reality of where we're heading to because the jobs are being replaced. So one of the things about e-commerce that we all have to understand is those with us with portfolios have to start thinking about startup companies. What does it look like for us to invest in other small businesses that are thriving, that will be able to survive? And here's a website I want everybody to write down. It's called Horizon Broker. It's called Horizon Broker. Now, I'm going to go to that website just real quick because most people never ever thought about buying their own business. Most of them always, I'm not selling y'all nothing. I just want you to go look at this. Horizon Broker. Actually, I didn't even pull it up. I want to pull it up to make sure I get this completely right. I used this site a couple times, but Horizon Broker is a place where businesses can go and broker other businesses, okay? When we get into this e-commerce business, right, we got to understand that it's going to start with understanding how people buy and sell businesses, right? Whether we are looking for this business for ourselves or we're looking to put our business on the network and do an evaluation, you're going to need to know how the whole process works. What I like about this particular website is that it gives us a sort of a starting base for our e-commerce business so we know what the end looks like from the very beginning. What we're looking to do, we're saying, hey, if we're creating our e-commerce business, we want to be able to sell this business off in 5 to 10 years, make a few money to live off, and then be done. We've got to have that vision in mind. And so with that, I want everyone to start at that point while they're writing it and begin to continue to educate yourself as if you're getting ready to buy one of these businesses or you're getting ready to sell your e-commerce business, okay? Here's some things that I want to share with you that I believe is important. This particular company was founded by a gentleman named Dustin around 2006, okay? The goal was really simple of connecting buyers and sellers. What's interesting about this is that it bases a lot of its code of ethics off the International Business Broker Association. Now, I'm mentioning that, the International Business Broker Association. If you get a chance to go look that up, please do. It is very good for understanding how to do work with some of our Ghanaian partners and some of our Nigerian partners and some of the investments and conversations that are taking place in Africa. If you want to just kind of get some little background on, I would suggest, looking them up. But specifically what makes this different was that it's an independent firm, and the team behind it typically work on their own commissions, but they construct arrangements with clients. And this is really what you want, because one of the conversations that I've had with folks when we talked about the e-commerce is that, Nate, why would you have them start to build one when they can just buy one? What if they can just buy it? What if I can just buy it? And I said, that is a very good question. Well, why can't you just buy the one you want to build and then build it to your liking when you're ready? Those conversations are best to have right now because it helps us to get past the hiccups of opening and starting an e-commerce business, but then it gets us to the next part where we're able to say, hey, listen, these are my ideas or the direction I want to take the business in. but it gives us some comfort. You say, well, where do we get the money from? This is why you need brokers like Horizon on your team, so it will help you to navigate that contract arrangement, okay? Because there is a lot of conversations that are going to go in there. If you get a chance to go to that website, I highly recommend you do that, because it's going to help for you to understand why we're going to this next website, which is in private equity. Now, I talked about the international for a second, the International Broker Association, but the reason I mentioned that is because I wanted everybody to work on turning their attention to the Private Equity International, right? I want everybody, if you can, go to the website, Private Equity International, and what this is, it is literally a database. It is a database full of all types of funding searches. You can search for live fundraising. You can look at the benchmarks. You can look at any funding searches. You can even look up your investment consultants. You can look up anything that has to deal with the industry that you're looking for, specific to private equity data. When you click on it and when you get into this, you'll say, okay, well, Nate, how do I use this? How do I make this simple? Well, you're going to make this simple by working into your AI, into your executive summary, these websites. So when you're talking to your AI, you're talking and you said, hey, I want you to look here specifically. I want you to look at this private equity international firm, and then you're going to say, I want to buy this business and turn it into e-commerce here on Horizon Broker. I'm just giving you guys an example here. You may find your own. You'll be able to start having your own ability to make AI your assistant. What I'm saying is that while they're building these data centers, there should be no reason why you're not building businesses with them. We should be keeping pace with the data center, not getting upset. Because once we work with their innovation systems better than they do, then once again, we rise to the top, our talents rise to the top, and that is when we start saying, oh, well, my God, they've recreated, once again, Black Wall Street, but this time it is on an e-commerce platform that truly is impenetrable because it is international. And that is why I'm introducing these concepts one at a time. So the next tool of this private equity data, it goes into a lot of those conversations of contact details for a lot of the private equity folks and brings them together with the investors and the funding managers. So you ask me, where do I get this money to pay for this business and start an e-commerce, Nate? I don't understand. I've just given you that answer right here. Now, you're going to have to register, sign in, register. I don't remember if it's a cost, but it don't matter because the information you're getting is worth the investment if you put a little bit of the time and use those tools of AI and of the executive summaries kind of coming out and fleshing out your e-commerce idea. One of the things I'm going to share with you on this is that when you start accessing some of this latest technology, you will be communicating with people out there in New York, people out there in Atlanta, people down there in Miami who are running these, West Palm Beach, even there, because a lot of our funding managers are moving to that coastal area down there as well, Tampa Bay. You're going to be dealing with people around the world who are already investing in businesses. Why take your e-commerce platform and try to create something that's already created when you can buy it on and using other people's equity by putting together the proper plan? Now, I talked about this being something that you would use in concert of now start off talking about Social Security and how it is going to impact looking down the road. I'm not asking everybody to look 100 years down the road, but let's just start taking that 10 years down the road at your retirement. Where will your income be coming from? I'm not an estate planner, although I do plan to go for that in the next 7 years. But one of the things I do want to share with everybody is that you hear folks coming about life insurance and talking about all these IRAs and all these other products, but oftentimes we are not giving out this information freely and consistently. I'm asking everybody, if you do have this information, please don't hesitate. Give this information out freely and consistently, because when you do that, all you're doing is creating more intelligence authentically for us to glean from, for us to start to build from with one another. It's the same thing that old master tried to use down there in the South Carolinas and Mississippi trying to use our treasures and our brains so that they can make themselves rich as we learn to be innovative on their land. This is on that one. And share that information freely and consistently. And I pray that this example is something that everyone is consistently understanding, that this is that contribution. Another thing I want to point out here before we leave this, and I think this is important for everybody to understand, is some of the reporting. Okay, when you go to this Private Equity International platform, you're going to see a lot of things at the top. You're going to see database, you're going to see quick search, you're going to see latest news analysis, you're going to see rankings and reports. And when you see that, please click on the private equity fundraising reports. You can click on private equity investors, but I fear that may be a little bit much. But here's something that I think is really important for all of us, especially some of those who are in the spiritual, in the religious, the 501c3 world, specifically either you're in daycare or you're in some of the other community outreach organizations, and you know that you're no longer going to rely on that ESG funding or some of the other corporate charitable giving funding. You need to know who and where it's coming from and what they're doing with it. So when you look at the private equity and you go look at their report, you're going to learn a lot about how their reports are actually put together. One of the things you're going to start to see is how the private equities are shifting their money, are moving their money so that they can brace for some of the tariff disruptions if that comes. It is something that I think that we all need to have when we're looking from year to year on fundraising, but it also is important to understand what money was raised in the last quarter, right? And this is what this report is going to tell you. It's going to let you know what happened in Q1 2025. It's going to help you understand what your strategy should be if you're trying to buy a business. And I put that Horizon Broker. Please, people understand that was there because I want you guys to think about selling your e-commerce business at the beginning of starting it, so that you don't get too attached to it, but you also put yourself in a position to make a lot of money by turning it over to people who want to play with AI and data centers. I want everybody to be thinking that. But the regional focus of capital is a conversation that you're going to need to know. You're going to need to know how they're doing it, and you need to know where they're doing it at. And so that's why I say just go ahead and sign up. I believe this account is free, but go ahead and sign up for it. It will bless your soul. The last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to stop here because I know everybody's eager to get on with their day, but it's something that we have already discussed a while back when we were looking at procurement. One of the things we talked about when we were doing procurement, and I said to you, when I write these proposals or I'm writing a grant, I have to communicate with my team. I've got to make sure that my whole team is focused. I got to make sure that my team is working together, but most importantly, I got to make sure that I'm staying on task with the deadlines and all the little things that I have to do. Well, guys, I know that you're not going to be able to pay for a service like that, here in the DMV area. I obviously know that service is too expensive. So what I gave us last time when we were doing the grants was looking at platforms to help with your project management. It was project management software. And this again is the conversation I want to go back to, looking at what's called Monday.com. Monday.com is important because they already are it sets up integration for some of the AI platforms, including e-commerce platforms, including some of the other data integration tools for Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft. And it allows us to be able to communicate with each other on a more efficient basis, and also helps you stay more organized. There's a couple things I really want to point out, because I think that it will be very helpful as you're building out your e-commerce platform, is to make sure that you are now saying, how do I take this newly created software, newly created platform that I have, and where do I go to find out what to do next? That's a very important question that I just said. Where do I go? I have, great Nate, you told me about it. I ain't heard from you in a while. All right, buddy, give me some more stuff. I got you. We have to understand together the power of project management software and cut down our time of thinking and management. So let me give you an example. Remember when we were doing executive summaries, and we're looking at the budget, we're looking at some of the missions, we're looking at some of the benefit cost analysis, we're looking at all these websites, and we're trying to put it all, make it all make sense. How do we organize it? Because it's great information, but how do we organize it so we can be profitable, right? I think it was Napoleon Hill who said that, organized knowledge is a necessity for riches. And that is a very true thing. If you can't organize, it's not having information, it's how you organize information. That is what makes it authentic versus just artificial. Artificial intelligence can only put information can only organize information according to the input that it receives. But humans, us, we can be innovative. We can organize. We can create new efficiency systems. And I just want to give us another tool in our e-commerce platform, which we've talked about, to go back and say, listen, okay, I'm going to plug in these two variables together to see how I can move my project along. And what you'll do is, just like you ask your ChatGPT questions about step 1 and step 2 and phasing and timelines and missions and create it, you're going to be doing the same thing, same concept in Monday.com. Except this time, you're going to be able to start tracking it with templates, times, dates, and you'll be able to integrate websites. So you'll be able to draw information in and use it. One of the features there I want to share with everybody, because I think this is really, really important for what we're discussing, and you're going to see it. And if you can start to get ahead of it, if you can start to just play with it, you're going to see what I'm talking about, that some of these conversations, especially when you're raising funds, gives you a dashboard. So you can have that full customization, that real-time tracking, so that you know what reports and how you're using information in a way to continue to make you profit. What I like about it, and I say this for some of my other team when we work on large-scale projects, is that your workload will be shown in your management and in your organization, right? I used to say this in the banking world. I said, if you don't know where you are in the process, you don't know what you're doing. It was just a basic line that I stole from one of my instructors in the Lean Six Sigma world. And they said, if you are lost in the process, if you don't know where you are in the process, then you don't know what you're doing. And that's always been the case for me when we're in the project management, because I get a chance to see exactly where I'm at. And so some of these features, these integrations, and some of these automations are going to really help to make your business ready to deal with the time. And as you see the data centers and as you see these things continue to be piled up, I'm going to be reminding you of these tools in our toolbox. Even when it comes to private, whether it be public funding or private equity, you'll be able to use the same tools in order to achieve actual results. So I want to stop there. I know you guys may have some questions for me, but I wanted to make sure we had that. So I touched on those three major things: is understanding that beginning, the beginning with being able to see the end from the beginning, looking at horizon brokers, business brokers. So we want to eventually get to a place where we are either buying a business or preparing ourselves to sell a business, which means we're understanding that there are some valuations, business valuations, that we need to be considerate about. Another thing we're looking at is making sure that we're looking at private equity that's international. As you can see, Trump is bringing in a lot of money from international. A lot of people are looking to invest. The question is, are they being put, the projects and people, are their projects being put in front of them so that they can invest, so that they can say, I'm doing this or doing something there to better myself. And the last thing is, how do we continue to organize and making sure all of this stuff is connected? And I want to make sure everybody went back to that Monday.com, because I believe that platform is a good start for us to start building our organization tool kit so that we know what's coming next and we don't get overwhelmed. Okay, guys, I appreciate y'all listening to me today. I know that was a whole mouthful. This is what happens when y'all keep me away for a little while. I'm going to turn it over. I think the last thing I just want to say is that I'm very happy of all the things that I've seen. I had one of my colleagues and business partners the other day. We were in a meeting, and he said he has to leave out and go to Bike Week. And I said, Bike Week? You mean in Tulsa? He was like, yeah, he has his old Harley. He said he'll be riding across country from here, him and a group of riders. And I said, oh, man, I'm jealous. Tell him I said, hey, so those of y'all who are riding who rode down there, thank you so much. I was praying for y'all. Safe travels, because I hope y'all had a good time in the name of the Lord, and I pray everybody's doing well. After with that, I'm pretty much done for the day, Dr. Carter. Thank you.
God bless you, Brother Dailey. We certainly appreciate you and your energy. And as I've said before, when you can't make it, there's no pressure from the Black Wall Street USA family. We are so grateful for your time, your energy, your preparation, your energy, and above all, your spirit. And so thank you so much. We got just a few minutes left. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them so we can let Brother Dailey go on with his day today. Are there any questions?
Yes, Dr. Carter, this is Dr. Little. I have a question. He was saying that there was a website to register for, and I missed the website. I have the Monday.com. What was the one that he was recommending, the need to know and to go ahead and to register so that we could have insight? What site was that?
That was privateequityinternational.com.
Okay.
Privateequityinternational.com. And then it's gonna direct you to either register or sign in. And I was saying that you could do it to go look at those fundraising reports so you know where it's coming, where the some of those funds is actually coming from. But that's probably the best way to do it. Just register there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Dailey, we had plans for you. You were coming to Tulsa, so with all these websites that people could just get right on in the library, in the computer class, in computer space, and be able to see them. And it's so easy. It's much better when you have your professor there leading you along the way. But my question is now, at this point, is now, when are you planning on coming to Tulsa?
Well, that is a good question. I need to look at my schedule and figure that out, don't I? I think I have a Juneteenth event at Mountain Bayou, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to Texas tonight or tomorrow. I got to look at that schedule. And I will be there until the end of the week. I may be able to drive through there, come up there this weekend, Memorial. I need to check, though. Who is that that's talking? I'm sorry.
This is Sister Rahim in Tulsa.
Sister Rahim. Okay.
Next weekend, from the we will be operating from the 28th to the 1st of June, which Mayor Monroe has dubbed Black Wall Street Massacre Day. Day of observation or something like that. I'm not looking at it right now. But
from the 28th to the 1st.
Well, his main event is going to be he has deemed June the 1st as the day to recognize the fallen or whatever. I think it's an observance day. It's Black Wall Street Massacre Observance Day.
It's commemoration. I think it's commemoration.
I think I can come there for that. I don't see a reason I shouldn't. I'm looking at my schedule now, so I'm going to put my foot in my mouth now. Let me look at my schedule.
Because you've met him already, right? Or at least you talked to him.
Yeah. And I was hoping we got a hold of him because I did tell him I wanted to come there too, but honestly I didn't remember that it was. Oh, that's in another week. Okay.
Right.
You said June.
It'll be next weekend, not this weekend coming, but the following weekend.
Okay. Yeah, let me see what I can do to be there. That's the 20. He said it's going to be from 28th to the 1st.
Right. Well, that's what we'll be doing. I mean, we'll be having different events. If I really knew you were coming, I could book the computer room, because I think those who are coming, it's just more comfortable when you say money.com. That we'll pull it up and just kind of be in the room with us for that. But I would have to book that if you want to be here, like on the 31st, which is a Saturday. Couldn't think of it. They close at 5 o'clock on Saturdays. But if you're coming, if you think you're going to be coming, or you're not sure, but you will be here on the 1st. I just need to know when you're coming. I did hear from the mayor as to his schedule for that day, because we wanted to work our activities around what he was doing. But as a matter of fact, in about an hour, I'll be going out to a community conversations he has. He goes from community to community, and he'll be here in North Tulsa tonight, going if the weather holds up. So I'll get a chance to ask him exactly what's on his agenda for June 1st. So I could probably maybe send you a schedule if I get it.
Okay, that would be perfect, and then I will let me take a look at that, and then I will get back with you, Sister Rahima.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Awesome. Any more further questions? Okay. The websites that Brother Dailey mentioned today, as you know, we have an intern who sits and listens, so they are already up on the website, and you can reference them. Again, we thank Brother Dailey for his time, and I thank all of you, Black Wall Street family, for coming in on a Monday and getting this knowledge. And so are there any announcements? I know there are events and things going on. Any quick announcements before we close?
Well, I'd just like to remind everybody that I'd like to. It's hard to plan space-wise because I have no idea how many people are planning on coming. But if there's some way we could get a count of who's going to be coming, that would help me with the space. Because I'm still requesting, waiting for results from spaces. But I can always go to the library, so that's our backup. We'll have somewhere to go, either our building or the backup of the library. So it would be nice if there was some kind of a way you could get a kind of count or a commitment, Dr. Cutter, of how many people plan to come.
So you're asking the wrong. You're asking the wrong fella.
Right. Well, the other thing we also were trying to get the people to spend their money in. So unfortunately, I did find Sister Augusta. She went back to Monroe, but as you know, the food downtown is going to be. She paid $10 for a drink, which was about 6 ounces. It wasn't like a health drink. It was just you could tell with all the color. It was just a regular cold drink. The food was very expensive, so it would be great to hear her report. But she's, I don't think she's on because she's trying to catch up. But it would be great to hear her experience downtown, or just being in Tulsa. But it's nice to do things, in certain neighborhoods because things are cheap, sometimes even better. So I just really would like to get some kind of a way if we could text somebody and just say, I plan to be there. That would be great. Oh, people had asked about the lodging. Again, if you are planning on coming, we have one hotel in North Tulsa. That's the Hampton Inn, and we have the Osage Casino, which also has a brand new hotel. But I just got in actually trying to get the lowdown on these. We have some Airbnbs. Some of the ministers and people in North Tulsa have been trying to save the properties and keep other folk from getting them. They've been setting up Airbnbs. So I have so far I know of 4 that we have here. And one of them has 2 apartments, an upstairs down and a downstairs apartment, because I don't know how to show it. I did take a picture, but maybe we'll do it when we have our meeting next Sunday. So if you can get on next Sunday to the Zoom call for Oklahoma next Sunday, we'd appreciate it if you're planning on coming, and even if you're not, because we have a couple of virtual things coming in. I went to talk to a Mr. Bobby Eaton, who has a radio station here, and I wanted to talk to him about seeing if he could share some of the workshops that we're planning, the information we'll be sharing on the workshops on this radio that week. But he was in session with somebody else. I couldn't, I had to leave. But it's a lot. It's a lot to do, and it's like last minute, and things don't work out the way you want them to work out. So it's a lot. But my main thing is just seeing how many people can come. Try to be in North Tulsa. I just wrote a check for $90 for a space that's only $75 a night. And I wrote a check for a deposit for 5 days. So anyway, if we'll figure it out. But we need to know. If a lot of people are not coming, we can't even put food because we have no idea, how many people are coming. So I think we'll just have a light brunch the first day on the 28th. I do know that morning from 8 to 10 we'll have a grant writing workshop by a pastor. We'll either have it at his church. Still trying to get Tulsa Tech. Well, I haven't had time to even deal with them. I don't have to. I can do it at the library. As a matter of fact, I did go to the library and set up for one, but they're not open 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'll have the agenda some kind of way. I guess I'll have it posted on the website before next Sunday when we have our meeting at 6 o'clock. So if you have any questions, you'll be able to. So maybe next Sunday we can get a count, and that'll help a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and we certainly appreciate all that you're doing, Sister Rahima, carrying so much by yourself, and that's why it's so important that we help Sister Rahima build a team there in Oklahoma. So if you know people in Oklahoma and they're kindred spirits, have reverent fear for God, send them Sister Rahima's way. She could certainly use the help. But on the Sundays at 6 Central, they have the Oklahoma State Zoom. So, and also you can check out, go to blackwallstreet.org/Zoom, blackwallstreet.org/Zoom, and you can see all of the Zoom calls we have weekly. Most of them are state calls, but I ask that you support those states as they start on this video conferencing trek, because they could use your input and insight and support. So go to blackwallstreet.org/Zoom. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead on. I'm sure everybody got stuff to do today. Again, we thank Brother Dailey. The recording will be on the website. You will be able to see it. For those of you who have MemTrack, it'll be in your MemTrack. And those of you who have access to the other part of our site, you can listen to this again. All right. If all minds are clear, we're going to go ahead and close. Brother Dailey, you had any closing comments? All right.
No,
Eternal God, our Father, we bless. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you, Sister Rahima. I'm going to just follow up with everybody. That's all. But go ahead, Dr. Kite.
Okay. All right. Cool. Eternal God, our Father, we once again thank you for your blessings and your favor. We thank you, God, for covering us, letting us see yet another day that none of us deserve. And we thank you, Father, for continuing to provide for us, continuing to protect us, continuing to direct us, continuing, God, to allow us to observe you and know that it is you. And we certainly thank you, Father, for being our friend. And all these things, we magnify your name. In Christ's name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.